What's going on, everybody? I'm here to do another story time video for you. The last time, of course, I did a story time was about the passport nightmare. That was actually the name of the video, and since then I actually have received my passport. I'm recording this video on March 8th, 2022. I actually got it way faster than what I had initially thought I was supposed to, because they said 16 weeks, but I actually ended up getting it in less than a month. So I'm very proud and very happy about that. But in today's story time, as you can see by the title, it says the first time I experienced racism. And I had to dig back really far for this one. So the year was around 2002, maybe 2003. I was still young, very young. And it was in the early 2000s. I do know that for a fact. And basically how it all occurred was, it first starts off with my grandmother, who, God rest her soul, she passed away in 2008 from Alzheimer's, which is pretty much the lead into with the story. So basically, she was from South Carolina, but as the Alzheimer's with her started to kick in, when I say we, I'm talking about me and my family, we didn't want her to stay down there in South Carolina by herself, because she was living by herself. She was up in age. She's developing Alzheimer's, and we didn't want her by herself, just being there. And her mind wasn't, starting to deteriorate at a slow rate, but it was deteriorating. We could start to see the signs. And so we had decided to have her move up here, where I'm at with us. And she stayed with us for a few years. But then, of course, with Alzheimer's, as time goes on, the mind starts to deteriorate even more and faster. And, it starts to, slowly, you start to see the signs even more, to the point where it wasn't feasible for her to stay with us anymore. So we basically had to come to the conclusion that she had to be sent somewhere like a nursing home for her to be at. And there's a lot of gray area in between that, but I don't really want to touch on that because that's actually a very personal family matter. So I'm kind of gloss over how it led to her getting into this particular nursing home and just get right to the meat of it. So we're talking about, she's coming from South Carolina and now she's in Maryland. But then she ends up getting into a nursing home that's all the way in upstate New York, in a city called Goshen, New York. Never heard of it. Now, I had family in New York, know people in New York, but they're all like maybe in the boroughs and the city and everything like that. But I don't know anyone in Goshen. Let's just put it this way: that place is just predominantly PC. It's up, looks like it's in the mountains somewhere, to the point where it looks so secluded. You would think that you're over in a European country somewhere during a very rainy season. It's real gray. It looks real depressing. But anyway, that's where she ends up at. And we go up there a couple of times to see her. The couple of times that we went up to see her, it was like, it's very eerie being inside of a nursing home. If you've ever been inside of a nursing facility before, it's not the best place to be at. It's very depressing. You're seeing a lot of people who are up in age, their ailments are taking over their body. Their family can't take care of them anymore. And it's just, it's just them and the doctors. And then you hear some horror stories about people and how they're treated inside of these facilities. And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. But anyway, we went up there and we went to go see and visit my grandmother, who, it was me, my mother, and my dad. We went up there to go see her. And we, just saw her, and, she was in her wheelchair. I guess she was watching the TV. By this time, her brain capacity was really bad. Like, it was to the point where she sometimes didn't even know who we were. She sometimes didn't know where she was at. Like, it was really at that point, at least before she had left and got thrown in, like that, because that's the best way I can put it, is thrown into this facility. She still had some of her memory because, she was used to being around us every single day. So, she would see certain things in certain, familiar surroundings. And, one reason why we knew that her mind was starting to deteriorate before she left, I have to throw this part in there, is because one time she left out of the house and started walking down the street, and we didn't know where she was at. And thankfully somebody saw her and knew that she lived with us and said, this is where she's at, and thank God, because someone could have like snatched her up and, and she probably wouldn't even know what was going on. So that was a major sign that we knew, okay, something has to be done. But when it came to her being in a nursing facility, she sometimes knew who she was. Sometimes she knew who we were and all types of stuff. But you know how Alzheimer's is, or dementia. People who have experienced that, or people who have family members that are going through that, know exactly what that's about. So she's in this room, and she's in a room with this other older PC lady. And when I say old, she looks like old. Like she looks like she like could have been damn near 100 at the time. Like she was very old. And the nurses had came and got my grandmother to go. I don't know where they went to take her. I don't know if they went to go bathe her or whatever the case may be. But we know that they came and they took her somewhere. And my dad I think he went with them. So it was just me, my mother, and the woman who was staying in the same room, that older white woman I was telling you about. That said looked like she was 100, staying in the room with us. But she was on the opposite side of the bed. And I remember, like, you know, when she was leaving out of the room, I had got so upset because I didn't like seeing my grandmother in the state that she was in. Mind you, I was like 13 at the time, and I understood as a 13-year-old what bad state she was in because I was so used to seeing her be with us every single day. So I just literally was on her bed and just all of nowhere just started crying. And then, you know, my mother, she hated having to see me like that because, you know, a parent doesn't want to see their child upset about anything. So, you know, she did what she possibly, you know, what she could. And then all of a sudden, that older PC lady, all I heard was it was under her breath, but you could clearly tell what she said was, "Them goddamn niggers." I kid you not. That's what she said out of her mouth. And I immediately kind of picked my head up right in the middle of me, like breaking down, and looked over at her, and then looked at my mother and my mother looked at me and said, "Did she just say what I thought she said?" And I said, "Yeah, keep in mind, I'm 13 years old. And I already know what that word is about," and hearing it come from her. And then all of a sudden it just went quiet. And then she started talking again. And then she tried to get my mother to make her bed up like she was her maid. I kid you not. This older white bitch, I just put it out there like that, called me and my mother goddamn niggers, and then tried to make my mother make up her bed right after she said that, as if she was her maid. And we was like, oh nah, we gotta do something about this. And like, because first of all, we are not gonna have my grandmother, and who was my mother's mother, stay in the room with this clear-cut racist woman. And that means she's been in that room for quite some time. Who knows what she's been saying about or to my grandmother, but because my grandmother has has Alzheimer's, she probably doesn't understand or comprehend what this heifer was saying to her. And it just came out so casually. And I made sure to make a good mental picture of her face. And I said to myself, as long as she's here, I don't want to come back up here. I don't even want my grandmother not only in this room, but I don't even want her in this facility, knowing that she's here. Because there's a good chance that it could be other people in there. Like I told you, this place is predominantly PC. It was not a lot of black patients there. That was one thing that really set me and my family, especially my mother, off to like the highest levels that you could send her off to. It was around this time where my mother was really like going through it because of everything going on with my grandmother and some other personal family issues that I'm not going to talk about on here because it is linked, but I'm not going to talk about it on here. And I said, we were saying that she needs to be out of here. When we heard that, she said she's got to be out of here. And it's one, because it's far. It's bad enough it's already far. And it's like way out here in the middle of nowhere, away from her family. So, after that, a couple, some time had passed, and we eventually were able to get her moved back down to South Carolina in a nursing home down there, which was perfect because all her remaining family was down there, so they could see her. Any friends that she has that were alive could see her, and she was in a better facility, a way cleaner, better, more diverse facility, and we didn't have any more of those issues. And something just tells me that old bitch is most likely deceased today. She has to be dead, because my grandmother, like I said, she passed away back in 2008. That chick looked like she was way older than my grandmother. But you know, they say racism will age you. But that was the first time that I have ever dealt with racism, and that was from the mouth of a PC woman. It doesn't matter how old or young she was. That's who I first experienced racism from. It wasn't from a PC man or a little girl or a PC boy. It was from an older, much ancient, might I add, white woman. So yeah, that's pretty much the story right there. Like, I don't have to add anything else in there. That's coming right off the dome. And like, I remember that vividly. And I keep saying to myself, like, I remember walking out the room and looking down the hallway and seeing if there was a flight of stairs. Cause a little piece of me wanted to pull a Jim Carrey in Batman Forever. And for those of you who have seen Batman Forever, as corny as some people might say that movie is, know exactly what scene I'm talking about. But that's pretty much the story right there. The first time I've ever dealt with racism. Y'all let me know down in the comments, what was the first time you've ever dealt with racism? Like, what age were you? What was the setting? What was the tone? Like, who was it? Of course, you don't have to give a name. If you want to give a name, it is what it is. And what scenario was it? I'm gonna definitely be doing some more story time videos. I actually have wrote up a list of different stories that I can tell. I like doing these type of videos because they're not news related, and this is giving you a little bit more insight about me that I don't share on here. But there's definitely going to be some more stories, and they're not all going to be depressing. There's actually 2 of them that I know I'm gonna do that's going to be very interesting to talk about, and there's going to be more energy behind it. But no, like this one, I just had to put out there because not a lot of people know this story. Like, I've told them that I've experienced racism before, but I never gone into detail. For the most part, y'all are the first audience that I've actually told this story to. So, congratulations on that aspect. But with that being said, y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you were new. Make sure that you go ahead and hit that bell to be notified every time I upload a new video or go live.